Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's ordinary council meeting. Firstly, council acknowledges the traditional owners of these lands, waters and skies, the Wadawurrung people. We acknowledge and respect their continuing connections to their lands, waters, skies, culture, and the contribution they make to the life and spirit of our community. We pay respect to their past and present elders and their emerging leaders, and extend this respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Thank you. Mr. CEO, do we have any apologies?
We do, Mr. Mayor. Shannon Maloney, the Manager of Communities, apology this evening.
Thank you. All councillors are present. Item 3, pecuniary interest and conflicts of interest disclosures. Councillors, Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you. I'd like to disclose a conflict of interest in relation to planning application to 2022/098 received on the 16th of September 2022 in relation to 48 Flinders Street, Queenscliff, on the basis it's my residence property that I own. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. Item 4, leave of absence of councillor. We still have Councillor Donna Grigau as leave of absence. Item 5, I'm going to now hand the chair over to the CEO.
Thank
Mr.
you.
CEO.
Thank you,
all
Mr.
yours.
Mayor. Look, but hopefully councillors will beg my indulgence, but before I do proceed to the next part of the meeting, I just wanted to, I understand that, Mr. Mayor, that you won't be putting your hand up for another term as Mayor, and I just wanted to thank you for the great service you've provided to this community, the support you've given me, and the leadership all round that you've demonstrated over 3 years, which have been both successful, but also very difficult with COVID and other matters. You've done a great job, and it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
I also understand that maybe a couple of the other councillors want to say something. Is that correct? Thank you, Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you. Thank you, CEO. I think that over the 3 years, we've really been under some really terrific leadership. And I think that your dedication to the community has been unwavering. And as the CEO has mentioned, it's been difficult. We've had COVID and a number of other issues that have arisen, and each time you've managed through those with a steady focus, a real zealous for community consultation and doing the right thing by our community. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And yeah, the support has been terrific, particularly for first-time councillors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Tolhurst.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Thanks for your leadership, Ross, as Mayor in the past 3 years. I haven't been here for all of those, but it's evident to me in the short term I've been on council that you're a true community man. You're passionate about people and you're adoring of the place you live in, and you're really committed to making it better. You've been enormously supportive of me, as I mentioned, on what is a very steep learning curve when you start half term as a new councillor. So you took the edge off that and you helped me find my feet. I know you're particularly proud of helping declare a climate emergency, of continuing to provide high quality aged care in the home services, of advocating for permanent protection visas for refugees, and of shepherding the hub to completion. These were often hard fought, multi-term achievements, and you should be proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. Councillor Grant. Thank you. Councillors, as item 6 of the agenda tonight is the mayoral election. And I'll just go through, just for the audience mainly, but just to go through a little bit of an explanation of the process. So in accordance with Section 25 of the Local Government Act 2020, at a meeting of council that is open to the public, the councillors must elect a councillor to be the mayor of the council. And I emphasise the term must, councillors. In accordance with Section 25(3) of the Act and Clause 7 of the Borough of Queenscliff Governance Rules, the Chief Executive Officer will preside for the purposes of the election of the mayor. So that's the process we're going through now. If the mayor is elected for a 1-year term, then this next election must be held on a day to be determined by council that is close to the end of a 1-year term as reasonably practical. We can deal with that later. For the community's information, the section of the 18 of the Act provides that the role of the mayor is to chair the council meetings, be the principal spokesperson for the council, lead engagement with the community and on the development of the council plan, report to the community at least once a year on the implementation of the council plan, promote behaviour amongst the councillors that meets the standards of conduct set out in the councillor code of conduct, assist councillors to understand their role, take a leadership role in ensuring the regular review of the performance of the CEO, and provide advice to the CEO when the CEO is setting the agenda for council meetings. Finally, the role of the mayor is also to perform civic and ceremonial duties on behalf of the council. One point of order is that the mayor is not eligible to be elected for the office of deputy mayor. Thank you, Adelaide. The mayor has, that's great. The mayor has the following specific powers under section 19 of the Act: to appoint a councillor to be chair of the delegated committee, to direct a councillor subject to any procedures or limitations specified in the governance rules, to leave a council meeting if the behaviour of the councillor is preventing council from conducting its business, and to require the CEO to report to the council on the implementation of a council decision. First, the first thing that the council must do is make a decision about the term that they would like the mayor to serve. So we have a recommendation in the agenda which is about, well, we haven't specified a term, but the councillors have an opportunity to set either a 1-year term or a 2-year term for the mayor. And what I might do is see if we have someone move to set the term. Councillor Grant?
Yes, I'll recommend that council set the mayoral term at 1 year.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hewitt. Okay. Would you like to make any comments or no? Happy to go straight to the vote. Excellent. Councillors, we have a recommendation, a motion, sorry, the council set the mayoral term for 1 year. Do we have support for that? Yes, thank you. With that, in accordance with clauses 7 and 8 of the Borough of Queenscliff governance rules, the CEO will call for nominations of the office of the mayor. So, at this point in time, I'd like to open it up to the councillors to see if there's a nomination. Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. I would like to nominate Councillor Isabel Tolhurst for the position of mayor.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that, councillor?
Happy to second that.
Yep. Okay. Are there any other nominations? This is the pause we were all waiting for. That being the case, given the only nomination was councillor Tolhurst, I'd like to declare councillor Tolhurst as mayor for the period of November 2022 to November 2023. Congratulations. Yes.
Before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd just like to say that I'm delighted with our former mayor. I'm delighted with our new mayor. And speaking to our new mayor, Councillor Tolhurst has shown from day one her commitment to the community, a true passion for listening and consultation, and an extremely thorough approach to decision making in frankly anything that she does. I believe that you will uphold the values of the council and be a capable and fierce steward of the borough into the future. And I'm so delighted that you've accepted the position.
So we will do a short shuffle, and then I will hand back the meeting to Councillor Tolhurst or Mayor Tolhurst.
Congratulations.
You want to be me for the It's very surreal.
Very messy.
I'm sorry about it. We didn't even leave you hanging. We got it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. CEO. That takes us to item 6.3 on tonight's agenda, election of a deputy mayor. We have a recommendation that council determine whether they wish to elect a councillor to the role of deputy mayor for the mayoral period. Do I have someone to move that recommendation?
I'm happy to move that.
Thank you, Michael. And a seconder? Thanks,
Yep.
Ross. All in favour? As determined that council will establish a deputy mayor for the period of 1 year, I now call for nominations for the position of deputy mayor.
Would be more than happy to nominate councillor Fleur Hewitt to the position of deputy mayor.
Thanks, councillor Ebbels, and I would be happy, if protocol permits, to second that motion. All in favour?
Was there any other nominations?
Oh, sorry, was firstly, councillor Hewitt, do you accept the nomination? Fantastic. Are there any other nominations for the position of deputy mayor? In lieu of any other nominations for the position of deputy mayor, I declare councillor Fleur Hewitt as deputy mayor for the mayoral period of 1 year. Congratulations. Item 6.4, incoming mayoral speech. Feels funny introducing your own speech. But this is a special opportunity, so please indulge me while I make the most of it. Thank you to Martin for being our chair in the interim. Thank you, Fleur, for the nomination. I'm humbled to have the support of my councillors to lead as mayor for the next 12 months. A baby councillorship and mayoralty make for a pretty big year, but this is a privileged position to find myself in and one I take extremely seriously. I'll bring a fresh perspective, energy, integrity and pace. I'll give it everything I've got. Though the newest councillor among 5 or 4 here tonight, I have worked diligently over the past 7 months to immerse myself in the issues, organisations and ambitions of our community. I have worked hard to further cultivate relationships, to deepen trust and ties, to listen, take on dissent and difference and understand how we can work better together. I have honoured my simple but sincere campaign commitment to listen and act. And this includes playing a key role in the establishment of a disability lived experience reference group and joining the local government working group on gambling to further the work of our recent policy change. As a councillor group, we've reached the halfway mark of a term. This is an important time to reflect on what has been achieved, what is left to achieve, and the legacy we want to leave. It's a chance to reset, recommit to our values of integrity, respect, community focus, sustainability and openness, and learn from both successes and mistakes. We must ensure that history does not repeat itself. It's also an opportunity to regroup as a council, that is, councillors, CEO, officers, and reiterate that we are all passionate about delivering outcomes for the community. We are all passionate about participating in meaningful work and we want to leave an impact, and we want to get the best from each other in this work. As councillors, we rely on the officers' frank and fearless advice to make good decisions and fair decisions, and I hope to provide leadership that brings out the best in you. I will hold you to account, and I expect you to do the same for me. There's perhaps nothing tremendously surprising in the key priorities for the next year. These are well documented and include ensuring the borough's financial viability, maximising our assets and optimising caravan park management, caring for our coastline through the development and implementation of a coastal and marine management plan, driving forward work on our SERP, and furthering the already excellent but often confronting work that is required for reconciliation and reparations with the Wadawurrung traditional owners. My job as mayor is to ensure that the priorities of this group as set out in the council plan are implemented. But mayoralty is also about vision. It's about putting in place now what is required for a vibrant, safe and successful borough in the future. As such, I believe our council is capable of leading big conversations about who we are and want to be. Council is responsible for responding to these community discussions and translating them into policy, partnerships and services that take a long-term view and provide broad benefit to our community. This means discussing what heritage is, how it captures the stories of place and people in a modern context. It means asking hard questions of ourselves about things like how we celebrate Australia Day. It means finding shared value and meaning in our public spaces. I think it means wading bravely into social issues of our time and considering how the borough can, independently and in partnership, address issues like affordable housing, worker shortages, and how we financially prepare now for the inevitable impacts of climate change later. And this is so relevant as to have just been a discussion we had in our assembly this afternoon. But all of this relies on good governance, on clear decision-making pathways, and on working respectfully and productively with our community. Working with our passionate and talented community has delivered amazing outcomes in the past. Our climate emergency response plan continues to be recognised for how it integrated community aspiration and council responsibility into an ambitious course for mitigating climate change. I thought you'd like that bit, Adelaide. And the recent distinctive areas and landscape ruling is of its very essence, a vision and a strategy for safeguarding what makes our region special. And this was achieved, what was achieved was a testament to community and council. Future successes between community and council rely on us all remembering what is at stake and that we're here for the same reasons, and that is to better the place we call home. However, our council does have limited resources. It's important we make the most of every investment, whether a financial one, whether our time, through our people, or through the advocacy we do. I'm committed to a fair distribution of resources and effort to respond to the diverse interests and needs of our municipal community, including those of future generations. Local government is a unique arm of government for its proximity to people, and I believe deeply in its ability to achieve great things. We are a small council, but we are not without ambition. We must continue to advocate effectively for ourselves, whether to state and federal governments, to other agencies such as DELP, Regional Development Victoria, Vic Roads, Department of Transport. There are many I could list, working collaboratively with neighbouring councils and sector bodies such as the Municipal Association of Victoria, ALGA and the VLGA. These relationships and partnerships must be a strength of ours in delivering for our community. My commitment to the borough community is that I will be available and present. I will advocate for you. I will continue to listen and act. To those I've met and worked with, thank you. Your generosity of time, your energy and experience betters this place and our collective knowledge daily. And to those I'm yet to meet, well, I look forward to that. At this point, I'd like to thank my councillor colleagues. You are a passionate group of people and you care deeply about community. It's a privilege to work alongside you. We bring different skills and ideas to the table, and we bring rigour to our discussions and debates. Our legacy is the decisions we make in this chamber, and I know we all take that responsibility very seriously. Briefly, and this is where it gets very indulgent, I'd really like to thank my family who have graciously come and are sitting in the chamber tonight and the gallery, because they're the ones who fostered a profound love of Point Lonsdale and Queenscliff since we were very small. And to my husband, Woody, for his patience. You have to be a supreme confidant and ally to be the partner of a councillor. And to my daughter, Adelaide, not for her noise, but because she's a part of a generation for whom all the work is done. To Ross, I've given you my big spiel, so I would merely be repeating it, but I do want to reiterate that your leadership has guided this council through some very challenging times, and I appreciate that greatly. I'll learn a lot from you, and thank you for the continued offer to support me in this position. To Councillor Hewitt, congratulations on your election to the position of Deputy Mayor for a second term. I know your passion for this community and how determined you are to get the best out of the time you've got here. You truly have the courage of your convictions and you never shy away from hard work. I really look forward to working together. I'd now like to invite, we've done our thanks to Mayor Ross Ebbels, but if there are councillors who wish to speak on this item, I invite you to do so now. Many thanks.
Yes, you can clap. Yep.
If there are no other comments, I'll move on to our next agenda item, which is public question time, item 7 and item 7.1, public question status update. There are no public questions outstanding. Item 7.2, public questions. And for public questions, we have received 4 tonight. And I'll get stuck straight into them. So public question number 1 is from Carmel Bell, who's not with us, so I'll read out her question. My question relates to Appendix 1 of today's council meeting, the planning application protocol, and specifically to item 5, which reads, for planning permit applications that have had officer delegations removed, a planning review meeting will be arranged unless council determines it is not needed. Planning review meetings are held to provide additional information to councillors. And under which circumstances would council decide not to have a planning review meeting? So the response to this question, Carmel, is that it's anticipated that in the majority of circumstances where applications are to be determined by council, that a planning review meeting would be required. However, the protocol stipulates that, provides for a circumstance where council may not ask for a planning review meeting because they've determined that they have enough information through the planning application process to make an informed decision. And this would obviously also be the case, for example, where there were no objections. Public question number 2 comes from Lou Stewart. Hi, Lou. Are you comfortable with me reading your question out? You would like to read it out? Absolutely. Far away. Thanks very much for the question, Lou, and for joining. Thank you, Lou. Thanks, Lou. The planning applications protocol sets out the criteria for this planning application delegations and planning review meetings. You can refer to the planning application protocol for a full explanation in Appendix 1 of tonight's ordinary meeting of council. And I know our staff or councillors would be happy to take subsequent questions if you have them about anything in that document. But with respect to 20 to 26 Hesse Street, council did receive a briefing from the town planner on the 20th of July 2022. At this briefing, council were provided advice on the 2 previous VCAT decisions for development on the site, the design response against the provisions of the planning scheme, and the views of council's heritage advisor. So in this case, after considering all that information, the collective view amongst the councillors was that delegation should not be removed from the offices. Thanks very much.
Councillor, just a point of clarification, Lou. So at the moment, all planning decisions are delegated to the officers, and then the council can choose to remove that delegation. Excellent.
Thanks, Lou. Good point of clarification, and thank you, Martin. Public question number 4 comes from David Connolly, who's also in the gallery. David, would you like to read? You happy for me to read your question out? Oh, thank you very much. With reference to the Queenscliff Ferry Terminal 1 Wharf Street East in Queenscliff, proposed amendment to incorporate an all abilities public access pathway to the beach. Is there a detailed plan of this proposal available under this permit amendment? And has there also been a corresponding permit application to DELP for CMC for a coastal path that already appears partially constructed and extends beyond the lease boundary? I'll hand over to the CEO to respond to this one.
Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Connolly, for your question. An application has been received by council to amend the development plan for the site to allow for an additional public access path to the beach on the southern side of the new building. The application is not a planning permit, and the public notification and appeal rights associated with normal planning permit applications do not apply. A copy of the plan, though, can be viewed at the council's office, and provided if you need it for information. Discussions are occurring with DELP to understand what level of consent has been granted or is required for the proposed change to the development plan. We don't have it. We're checking whether or not it's with DELP under the development plan, whether or not it's within those provisions already set out in the development plan, or whether or not DELP thinks there should be additional consents.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Thank you, David. I did skim over question number 3, which is from the QCA. In April this year, council reported the Queenscliff Sports and Recreation Precinct public toilet and shower development was expected to be completed in the Q2 of this financial year, and expectations were completion by the QMF, the Queenscliff Music Festival event, or at the latest for the summer period. It understood concerns have possibly been raised over some finished materials, levels or works. Can the CEO provide a detailed update tonight of the current status and delivery of this project, including reasons for being behind schedule, new expected completion date, and any estimated budget overrun should these be the case? Over to you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. David, council's advice from the builder is that construction will be completed as previously reported in Q2 of this financial year. As you're probably well aware, all building projects across the state over the last 2 years have faced delays and difficulty in accessing certain types of building materials, and that's certainly the case for this project as well. And that's caused this the short delay that we're receiving at the end of the project. At the moment, the expenditure on the project is within the 10% contingency allowance, and that's the advice that we're working with at the moment. The budget figure that council adopted, have you got that off the top of your head, Stuart? We'll take that one notice, David, and provide that to you.
Thanks, Mr. CEO. And thank you to Lou and David for joining us to read or respond to your questions. That brings us to item 8 in tonight's agenda, confirmation of the council meeting minutes. I also should have said you're welcome to excuse yourselves now if you wish. We won't take it personally, Lou. And Mum and Dad, noted.
So,
Agenda item number 8, confirmation of the council minutes. 8.1, ordinary meeting of council on the 26th of October, 2022. Councillors, we have a recommendation here. I've got.
Councillor Tolhurst, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Ebbels. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Grout. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item number 9, record of assembly of councillors. A record of assembly for the following assemblies of council are included at adjunct to item number 9. We have a recommendation before us that the record be noted. Councillors, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. And a seconder, Councillor Grout. All in favour? So passed. Thank you. Item number 10, notice of motion. Item number 10.1, notice of motion status update. We have a recommendation that the notice of motion status update is presented in adjunct to item 10.1 be noted. Councillor Hewitt, thank you for moving that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Grout, thank you very much. I'll put it to the vote. So passed. Thank you. Item 10.2, notice on a motion on notice. No notices of motion were received. Item 11, petitions and joint letters. 11.1, petition and joint letters. In accordance with the Borough of Queenscliff governance rules, a petition or joint letter presented to the council must lay on the table until the next ordinary meeting of council. And no motion other than to receive the petition or joint letter may be accepted by the chairperson unless the council agrees to deal with it earlier. Item 11.1.1 is the Kirk Road roundabout petition. So at the ordinary meeting of council on 26th October 2022, council received a petition addressed to the councillors and executives from a group of concerned residents about the temporary Kirk Road roundabout. The petition was signed by 19 people, all listed as residents of Kirk Road, Point Lonsdale, and the petition was laid on the table for consideration at the meeting. So councillors, we have a recommendation before us on this one. Do I have a mover? Thank you, councillor Grout. Someone to second that? Councillor Ebbels. All in favour? So passed.
Can I just say, Mayor, that I'd like to speak to this petition at item 17.3, which is on the agenda, was agenda at this meeting, where we will address the issue of the Kirkland-Medley Road intersection.
Thank you, councillor Grout. Noted, and we'll pick up your questions at item 17.3. 11.1.2 railway crossing petition. So on October 27th, council received a petition addressed to Councillor Ebbels, Mayor of the Borough of Queenscliff. Consistent with Division 9 of the governance rules, the petition is now laid on the table for council's information. So the petition is below. I will take it as read, and it was signed by 49 people. Councillors, do I have someone to move? Thank you, Councillor Hewitt, and second, Councillor Ebbels. Any questions on this petition? No. All in favour? Pass. Thank you. Item 12, functions attended. We have a meaty list of functions attended by our councillors. Do I have someone to move that the functions attended report be received?
Councillor Tolhurst, I'm happy to move the recommendation with one change, if that's okay.
Thank you, Councillor Ebbels. Do I have someone to second Councillor Ebbels' motion, which is to adopt the report with amendments?
I've just got to
Make
the
the
change.
amendments.
Sorry, yeah. So the amendment is on the 10th of November 2022. I did also attend the Hobson Street toilet site visit with the disability advocates. Thank you, Councillor Tolhurst. I'm happy to move that.
Thank you, Councillor Ebbels. Do I have someone to second that motion? Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. Put it to the vote. So passed. Item 13, Chief Executive Officer. 13.1, the CEO's report. Martin, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, just a short report this month, given the auspicious occasion we're sitting through. Look, and just some really good news on the Renewable Organics Network project is continuing to move along, and we've started the design process, and some tenders are going out for different components of that over the next few weeks. So we're really looking forward to early next year when we can present our final design. And as been mentioned a few times through the meeting already, we've worked with the councillors just to review and update the planning application protocols. And so we just wanted to provide you a copy of the updated and also give the community a chance to have a look at that as well. So otherwise, the recommendation there is on page 17.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? I keep looking at Mr. Thank you, Councillor Hewitt, and I'll take Councillor Ebbels as a second. Are there any questions for the CEO on this report? Thank you, Councillor Grout.
I think this question is really by way of clarification, and it's about the planning protocol. Can a town planner refuse a planning application?
Through you, Mayor, the town planner certainly can refuse a planning permit application. The commitment in the protocol is that we will inform councillors if the planner is intending to do that.
There are no more questions. I'll put that one to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you, councillors. So passed. Item 14, health and wellbeing. There are no reports to consider. Item 15 and item 50 is our environment portfolio. Item 15.1, the climate emergency response plan implementation update. I think over to you again, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. This is, councillors quite rightly requested a bit of an update on the, on how we were going with the climate emergency response plan. Rebecca, who you all know, has done a great job in leading this, the implementation, and she's helped us put together this report, which really captures not everything we're doing, but the majority of work that we've been doing over the last 3 or 4 months. And as we say in the report, we think it's a good initiative by council, and we will continue to produce these reports for council and community. Apart from that, the table itself highlights that there is a lot of work that's been achieved, a lot of work that's going on, and I think it's still worth mentioning that we continue to work well with our community groups in on the other parts of the SERP implementation as well. So with that, I put the recommendation to you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, councillor Hewitt. Someone to second that. Thank you, councillor Ebbels. Any questions, councillors?
And thank you for the report. I think it's a terrific illustration, as you say, the CEO of all the fantastic work that officers are doing in collaboration with the community and with all of the relevant organisations. I had a couple of questions. One was around the 3 targets that we set in the SERP document itself. I understand that this will come up for review at the middle of next year. Will we then be able to get an idea about how we're tracking against those ambitious targets?
Yeah.
And also an idea about overall the actions, what percentage have actually been achieved out of the total?
Thank you, councillor, for your question, and through you, Mayor. Yes, so we've commenced the review project, which is a 2-year review. And certainly what we'll be doing in that review project is doing a quantitative assessment of where we've got to, both in terms of our emissions, but also in terms of the number of actions we're working through. We're going to establish a similar arrangement that we did in the development of the plan itself. And we're going to get back to those original community advocates and the community panel get together to help us through that. But yeah, we certainly want to come to you in May next year and say the review's indicating that we're travelling well or otherwise. The review also will look at all the other things that are happening external to us that are now coming online. So some of those federal and state government changes that have emerged and may be able to mean that we can focus on other things or to double down on those things. So that's certainly the intent.
Subsequent question. So just in terms of the battery that's been pledged by both the Liberal and Labor candidates for Bellarine, what has that had any imminent flow-on effects for council in terms of, are we diverting energy towards doing work on that? You know, obviously subject to the finer details being put out there, and the other one was around the EV chargers and when we'd be likely to understand that the modelling behind that in terms of charging, the extent to which we be charging for this for use.
Thank you, councillor Hewitt, and through you, Mayor. In terms of the community battery, we won't be diverting resources. We've been working pretty hard with PowerCore and the community groups over the last sort of 8 to 9 months, doing some feasibility work, working with PowerCore to see what models that they're working on, and that work with PowerCore is also being parallel to the work that they're doing to understand what role they might be playing in this space. So we'll try and build on that work once we get the details from the successful party about how that funding will come through. In terms of the EV charges and how much we on charge, we probably want to see what power is drawn down for the EV chargers and give us ourselves a good 6 months, I think, to be able to get a few bills through the system and see what sort of impact it's having on us, and then come back to council with some recommendations around pricing. But we certainly have included in the charges that we're getting, we've included the capacity to link with mobile apps that will allow for those sorts of charging options, but also other information options about where the grid is and all those sorts of things there. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, councillor Ebles.
Yes, thank you, councillor Tollers. Just a quick follow-up with the charges. I think under the grant, is there a period of time where we under the conditions that we can't charge? Money?
Through you, Mayor, and thank you for your question. Yes, there is a period of time where the state, as part of our commitment to the state, that we wouldn't charge. Yeah.
Yep, thank you. And the other one just quickly was just to, I know councillor Toller has talked in her introduction about the output that this council does and can do given its size. And when you look at the report today about the response plan and the amount of work that's been completed but ongoing, I think it's a compliment to all the officers involved. I think it's a credit to the organisation. So thank you very much.
Oh, and the credit needs to go to the council as well, because you've allowed us to embed these programs and processes into the work that we do. You've invested in an officer that is running and leading a lot of these projects. So I think it's a shared, it's a shared responsibility for its success. Yeah.
I just had a question around the how we map success or performance against the Sustainable Development Goals. I know obviously this is becoming an increasingly popular framework for which to measure impact across social issues.
So through you, Mayor, we certainly in the plan itself, we've got a section which refers to the sustainability goals. And one of the things that we'll do through this review process is to try and do some assessment of how we're tracking against those. So that'll come in the review report itself. Yeah. Well, I just wanted to, sorry, Councillor Hewitt, I didn't respond to this earlier. We've been working with the organisation to try and get a baseline for our emissions, which is going to really help us understand, especially the community side, how we're doing. And we're just about there. QCAN, as you know, is a lot of people who've got some really detailed expertise and things. And so we've been to and froing between the consultant, but we think we've got a good baseline now to start to measure success in terms of emissions. Yep.
Thanks for the questions, councillors. If there are no further questions on this item, I'll put this one to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. So passed. Item 16, local economy. There are no reports to consider. Item 17, heritage planning and infrastructure. Item 17.1, planning permit activity report. Over to, and Fleur is having declared, Councillor Hewitt having declared a conflict of interest will excuse herself. Thanks,
Thank
Tim,
you.
over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors, and congratulations once again, Madam Mayor. I just like to present the heritage planning permit activity report for November. I take the report as read. There's one correction to make in the report. It's the right time to do so. Just on page 41, in reference to C37 and C39. They are round the wrong way. So the first one should be C39 at top of page 41. And the second matter should be C37. But other than that, everything else is correct. So I apologise for that there, but just to put that straight.
Thank you, Tim. So, pardon me. Yeah. We have a recommendation that the activity report with the changes as made by Tim be received. Do I have a mover for that one?
Yeah, I'd like to move that, the planning activity report be received, but with the following change, which is the, item on page 41. So C37 and C39 details and status to be corrected.
Thank you, councillor Grout. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, councillor Ebbels. Any questions, councillors? No, I just wanted to ask, and perhaps note and ask that councillors received the first cut of the Fisherman Flats Heritage Review study, and we're noting that there's some final changes for that to be made, but would just love some information on the timelines around when that's likely to go out to community, noting that we're very eager to get our community's involvement in that documentation once available.
Sure. So we're just in the process of finalising some responses back to the consultants, and when that's finalised, it will be shared with the community. And we also have planned after it is in March, some community engagement around the report itself. So that's sort of the work plan today, but we'll keep the community and council informed as we progress.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Any further questions? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. So passed.
Sorry, we're just,
Now,
councillor Hewitt.
Yeah.
Come back in.
I think this is still on this item,
Oh.
so
so I want to move a follow-up motion. And this, in this motion, I'm going to move that we the council removes delegation conferred under section 47(1) of the Local Government Act 2020 in relation to the following planning application. So it's 2022/83, which is 5 Beach Street, Queenscliff. And we remove delegation due to community interest and heritage issues.
do I
I'm
have a
happy
s-
to second that.
Thank you, councillor Ebbels. I put that subsequent motion to the vote. Thank you. Passed. I think we can bring councillor Hewitt back in now. Thank you, Stu. As you're making way to your seat, councillor Hewitt, we've got item number 17.2, the Bellarine Peninsula Distinctive Area and Landscape Final Draft Statement of Planning Policy. And back with you, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The Bellarine Peninsula Distinctive Area Landscape, commonly known as the DEL, so that was published in October. Council's had a briefing on that. And the recommendation is that it be endorsed by council as a responsible authority, and then it be forwarded to the Minister of Planning. Over to you, councillors.
Thank you, Tim. Councillors, we have that recommendation before us. Do I have someone to move that?
Yeah, I'm happy to move that.
Thank you, councillor Grout, and a seconder,
I'm happy to
councillor
second that,
Ebbels.
councillor.
Any questions, councillors, on the DEL?
No questions, just like to make a comment at this stage.
No worries.
It's in support of this motion.
Love to hear that.
Yeah, look, I think the Borough of Queenscliff is really pleased to endorse this Bellarine Peninsula Distinctive Area Landscape Statement of Planning. And a note in the DAL, it does talk about the main challenge being to manage regional growth while conserving and enhancing significant landscapes. Now, we think that this DAL does identify and better protect the characteristics of the Bellarine that most of us value. It's why we live here. It's why others choose to visit. But in particular, we support the general guidance with respect to development in the villages of Point Lonsdale and Queenscliff. So we've appreciated the work that council officers have done in helping us prepare a submission when we're preparing the DAL. And also the collaboration that we had with the City of Geelong legal representatives in the panel review process.
Thank you, councillor Grout. Any further comments?
Yes, please.
Councillor Ebbels.
Councillor Tolhurst, and yeah, certainly fully supportive of the DEL, and we all know it's a long time coming and something that we've been advocating for many years for us in the Borough of Queenscliff. And I was fortunate enough to be at the launch with the Premier and our local member, and the most pleasing part, I think, from my point of view, was the support that the Dell had, not just from the Borough of Queenscliff and the City of Greater Geelong, but I think it's more important that all the community groups were well and truly on board with the same story coming out. So it's a really loud voice, and not that it's in the Borough of Queenscliff, but I think there was a little bit of common sense there with the Ocean Grove Hotel being sort of cut out slightly out of the Dell, which was certainly was needed, and we look forward to working with the state government, whoever the state government is in the future, to get this through. Thank you.
Thank you,
Councillor
councillor
Tolhurst.
Ebbels. If there are no further comments or questions from councillors, I'll put this one to the vote. The council endorse the Dell and forward a copy to the Minister for Planning. Thank you. So passed. All in favour. That brings us to item number 17.3, Kirk Road and Winterley Road intersection. And I believe we're welcoming our roads and infrastructure engineer, Stuart, to the pulpit.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. The purpose of this report is to inform council of the ending of the trial of the temporary roundabout at the corner of Kirk and Winterley Roads in Point Lonsdale and the reversion back to a standard T intersection, and to inform council of the community engagement and analysis that was undertaken to inform this decision. I'll take the report as read, but following the trial of the small non-standard roundabout at the intersection of Kirk and Winterley for a period of 12 months, council sought feedback from the community through an online survey during late September and early October. 236 responses were received. Written and verbal feedback received throughout the trial period was also considered along with a petition which has been tabled at the previous ordinary meeting of council. The results of the community engagement summarised in figure 1 on page 50 of the agenda. And the recommendation on page 47 of the agenda is the council notes the ending of the trial roundabout period at the corner of Kirk and Winterley Roads, Point Lonsdale, and the reversion of the intersection to a T intersection with additional measures to be undertaken to improve safety and reduce traffic speeds.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Do I have someone to move that recommendation? Thank you, councillor Grout. Someone to second it? Thank you, councillor Hewitt. And I understand, councillor Grout, you wish to speak to the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to this motion. I'd like to say that I and I think our fellow councillors here acknowledge many road users have not been happy with the temporary roundabout at Kirk Road and Winterley. However, many local residents obviously do see the traffic speed and safety on Kirk Road is a problem to be resolved. I think there is a need to look at more effective traffic management measures, and I understand that this issue may well be addressed in the active transport strategy for Point Lonsdale and Queenscliff. In the short term, however, we do revert to a standard T intersection at this junction, so I'm happy to move that motion.
Thank you, councillor Grout. Any subsequent comments or questions for Stu or in general on this item? No, we'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. So passed. Item 18, Governance and Finance. 18.1, Appointment of Council Portfolios and Delegates. I think we're back with you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, look, this is really a discussion or a conversation we're going to have now with the councillors about appointing the portfolios and the delegations for the next 12 months. What we've done in the recommendation is to leave it open in anticipation that the councillors have given some thought to this, and we'll work through with you as we go. So I will quickly hand it over to you, Mayor.
Councillor Tolhurst, I'm happy to move the following. Please be patient as we go through it, and Jackie, I will provide you with a copy of this for you as well, just in case yes. So the recommendation that Council A appoint the council portfolios for the next 12-month period as follows. Health and Wellbeing, councillor Grigau. Environment, councillor Tolhurst. Local Economy, councillor Ebbels. Heritage Planning and Infrastructure, councillor Grout. Governance and Finance, councillor Hewitt. B, appoint councillors Grout, Hewitt and Tolhurst as the councillor representatives on council's Audit and Risk Committee. C, appoint councillors Tolhurst, Ebbels and Grout as the councillor representatives on the CEO Performance Review Committee. D, appoint its council delegates for state, regional, local organisations as follows. Association of Bayside Municipalities, councillor Grout. Barwon South West Local Government Forum, councillor Hewitt. Geelong Queens Coastal Adaptation Planning Project, commonly known as Our Coast, councillor Grout. Geelong Regional Library Board for a two-year term, councillor Ebbels, with councillor Hewitt as the sub-rep. Geelong Heritage Centre Collection Advisory Committee, councillor Ebbels. Municipal Association of Victoria for a two-year term, councillor Ebbels, with councillor Tolhurst as the sub-rep. Rural Councils Victoria, councillor Tolhurst. Tourism Greater Geelong and the Ballerine Board, councillor Ebbels. Ballerine Community Safety Group, councillor Grigau. G21 Alliance Board, councillor Tolhurst. G21 Health and Wellbeing, Sport and Recreation Pillar, councillor Grigau. G21 Cultural and Economic Development Pillar, councillor Ebbels. G21 Sustainability Pillar, councillor Hewitt. G21 Managing Growth Advisory Group, councillor Grout. And E, appoint its councillor representation on the reference groups as follows. Community Excellence Awards reference groups, councillor Grigau. Community Grants Advisory Reference Group, councillor Ebbels. Memorial and Plaques Reference Group, councillor Ebbels. Disability Lived Reference Group, councillor Tolhurst and councillor Grigau. Environmental Reference Group, councillor Tolhurst. Coastal and Marine Management Plan Steering Committee, councillor Grout and councillor Hewitt. Thank you, councillor Tolhurst.
Thank you for wading through that. Councillor Ebbels, go for it.
Sorry, just to clarify, environmental reference group.
Councillor Tolhurst. Sorry, did I miss that?
No, I
No.
was just, I had different notes.
I'll get a copy for you to see it as
Thank
well
you,
if you like.
thank you.
Do I have someone to second the motion? Thank you, councillor Hewitt. No further questions or comments on that one. Great. We'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. So passed. Item 18.2, council meeting schedule for 2023. I think I'm handing back to you again, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. As we've done through the assembly process, we've made some recommendations about when the council meeting should be held across the next 12 months. We will stick to the Wednesday meetings with the assemblies preceding those. And the recommendation there is that we adopt that and that we publish the meetings on the council website. Happy to take some questions, but otherwise hand it back to the councillors.
Do I have someone to move the motion? Thank you, councillor Grout, and to second it, councillor Hewitt. Any questions for the CEO? No, put it to the vote then. See you, David. All in favour? Thank you very much. So passed. This brings us to item 18.3, Municipal Association of Victoria Regional Groupings of Councils Review. One more time, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. As the report sets out, there was a change to the governance rules for MAV, the State Council in February 2022. Oh, sorry, it should be September 2022. 1 minute. So what's resulted is that out of that is that we've now changed the regional groupings and the metropolitan groupings, and we need to consider what group council would like to be included in and what that group might look like. So we've done a review of the options paper, and we've made a recommendation in this report. I'm happy to take any questions. Otherwise, I'll hand it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Can I have someone to move the recommendation? Councillor Ebbels and someone to second it. Thank you, Councillor Hewitt. All in favour?
Oh, sorry,
Oh, you wanna
councillor,
speak to-
sorry.
Pardon,
do apologise.
Councillor Ebbels.
Yes, I did just want to quickly speak to it and thank the CEO. Obviously, we'll give them two options. And I think either of those options actually probably be suitable for us in the borough of Queenscliff, because it really does align us more closely to, for example, G21, but also the Bowen region as well. I think it's a better alignment for us and probably a bit more like-minded. I think at the end of the day, it's whether Ararat's part of it or Ararat's not part of it. It's probably going to be a decision for Ararat, but I certainly endorse it. And I think it's a better fit for us than where we currently are, which has coastal, but it also has, goes up the centre of Victoria as well, which some of those issues that they have, which are very important, are not necessarily issues that we have as well. So I think it's a good rearrangement of those groups, and yeah, certainly support regional grouping option 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ebbels. Any other comments on the MAV groupings? I'll just reconfirm by putting it to the vote. All in favour? Thank you. So passed. Item number 19 is the authorisation of signing and sealing of documents, and item 19.1 Point Lonsdale Lighthouse Reserve Works Part 3 Instrument of Agreement. We have a recommendation to note the use of the common seal to be applied to the above contract. Do I have someone to move the recommendation before us? Thank you, Councillor Ebbels. To second it, thank you, Councillor Hewitt. All in favour? Any questions on the item? Councillor Hewitt.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. CEO, I'd just like to get update on this particular stream of works at Lonsdale.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Hewitt, and through you, Mayor. We're actually tracking pretty well in terms of the timing of this project. With the builder, once they got started, has made good progress. So, and the materials involved in this particular build have been available, so that's been great. I won't say it because I'm going to curse it, but we think we may finish before the schedule finished. What we have noted and is that once we've taken off all of the cladding material, that there is some additional work we need to do just to shore up the structures and replace a few structural elements. So that's resulted in a small variation, but hopefully once that's completed and we start recladding the buildings, that'll be it for the time being. But it's going well, and I think when you visit the site, there's a sense that something is happening now, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Any further questions on this item? No. Item 20, questions without notice. 20.1 questions without notice, status update. No questions without notice were outstanding. Item 20.2, questions without notice. Councillors, do we have any questions without notice? Councillor Graup.
Yes, this question is about the Coast Marine Management Plan process. Just if you can provide a very summary of where we're at, and specifically, can people still apply through an expression of interest process to join the project control group for this project?
Thank you, Councillor Grant, and through you, Mayor. The project's actually made some good progress over the last couple of months. We've appointed the project manager, as you know. We've moved through the project planning phase, and we're now, as you quite rightly say, recruiting for the project steering committee. I would encourage people, if they are interested, that we're still taking applications for that EIO process. And it's a great opportunity to really have an influence on a key strategic document for the borough. So please let us know if you can in the next little while. The next steps will be to convene that steering committee. Prior to Christmas, we're going to try and get everyone together and set out what the work program is for next year as we start to develop the next iteration of the CMMP itself.
Yeah, thanks.
Any further questions without notice? I have one actually, Mr. CEO, around an update on the mosquito spraying. We got a great report as part of the environmental portfolio last ordinary meeting around treating mosquitoes, and since there's been some media reportage about increased risk of Buruli ulcer this season, given the conditions, environmental conditions we find ourselves in. So I know there's a few players in that, and if you could elaborate, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't have good news. We're certainly, our environmental health officer with Tim is looking at some localized control, and we're certainly targeting those areas where we know that there's mosquito breeding occurring. The issue for this area in the Bellarine is that a number of the mosquitoes breed in the Ramsdale wetland, and this year Geelong, who normally manages that process of spraying, has not been able to secure a permit to do that spraying. So the news is that we probably shouldn't expect that we'll have any drop off of the current infestation of mosquitoes, for want of a better term. So the advice that the EHO is working with Tim on is that we're going to try and do a bit of community education about some of the things that we can do to ensure that we don't get bitten, and to also clarify just how some of those mosquito-borne diseases are actually transmitted, and in particular clarify some of the issues around the ulcer, because it's not the, so I understand it, and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong here, it's not the mosquitoes that carry the, it's the wound and the bacteria that gets into that wound. So we want to clarify that for people. But I think the general message is be prepared, especially when you go into social functions. Spray yourself, make sure your home's insect proof, and just, yeah, don't let them bite you.
Thank you for that comprehensive update and a taster of our education program, I think. I'll send them to you, Mr. CEO. Item 21, list of council meetings is below. So we have a planning review meeting coming up next week for number 6 McDonald Road in Queenscliff, and followed by the final council meeting for the year. Brings us to item 22, closed session of meeting. So the time is 8:08. And we have a recommendation here that in accordance with section 66(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020, the meeting be closed to members of the public for consideration of the following confidential items. 22.1, confirmation of 26 October 2022 confidential council meeting minutes. Do I have?
I'm
Thank you,
happy to move that, Councillor Tolhurst.
Thank you, Councillor Ebles, and Councillor Hewitt to second that. All in favour? So passed.